Right, we're all packed for the Kalahari. It's a long drive, but we're breaking it up into sections. So our destination for today is Kalfinia, which is about 5 hours away. We'll start off by meeting my partner's dad and his partner in Piketberg at the top of the pass. Have a little bite to eat there, and then traveling convoy the rest of the way to Kalfinia. It's a bit overcast, which is nice traveling weather, so it won't be too hot, and we should make good time. We've just spent the night at Kalfinia, and we've got a packed lunch which the B&B have organised us, and now we're heading to Brandflay to do a bit of birding. There's a few larks out there, nice larks that we can go and try for, and then our final destination tonight is Augrabies. The Augrabies Falls National Park is located in the Northern Cape Province, 120 kilometers west of Upington, around the Augrabies Falls waterfall. Mind-blowingly beautiful, it offers the visitor over 55,000 hectares of unique riverine ecosystems to explore, with viewpoints from which to survey the dramatic landscape that unfolds below. Augrabies National Park has just the one rest camp, but it's the largest of all the arid parks and houses 59 chalets and a camping area with 70 sites, 40 with electricity and 30 without. There are 50 chalets that house just 2 people, while 9 can accommodate 4. Each unit has a sleeper couch for children under 16. All chalets are self-catering, however there's a fully licensed restaurant and a well-stocked shop on site too. There are 3 swimming pools for residents and 1 swimming pool for day visitors. We've just arrived at Augrabies National Park. My dad is checking in, and then I think we're just gonna go to our chalet and unpack. And then I think we're going to take a walk down to the falls, have a look at that, maybe come back to reception, have a few drinks and then a braai, and then chill out for the rest of the evening. And then tomorrow we got a bit of time exploring further afield in the park, which is absolutely stunning. So long drive, but we're here now, so we can chill out. This is basically where the adventure starts now. The main reception is located as you enter the rest camp and is a short walk away from the falls. The green lawn, tall palms and lush vegetation here make for great birding right off the bat. Here display boards show the flora and fauna of the park as well as its worst floods, like the massive flood of 1988, when nearly 8,000 cubic meters of water tumbled over the falls every second into the pool below, where legend has it the world's largest deposit of diamonds lies. The reception also houses a conference center that can accommodate up to 70 delegates in a well-equipped air-conditioned facility. But best of all is the shaded terrace, where you can enjoy a nice cold beer or cold drink after a long day's birding. Our adjoining chalets were situated on the northern edge of the rest camp, with uninterrupted views looking north towards the gorge. The chalets are basic yet clean and well looked after and contain everything we needed for our 2-night stay in the park. Braai facilities would be used after our sundowners overlooking the gorge. The chalet for me is just a bed to sleep in, because every available minute for me is spent outside enjoying the fruits of the park. But as you can see, they are more than presentable. But always make sure you lock your doors to prevent monkeys and baboons from getting in and causing havoc. Augrabies Falls is by far the main attraction in the park and is one of South Africa's biggest waterfalls. This is where the mighty Orange River is at its most impressive, as it thunders its way through a ravine and over the 56-meter tall main waterfall. The name Augrabies was given to the waterfall by a Swede, Hendrik Jacob Wicker, when he passed through here in 1799. The name Augrabies is derived from the Khoisan word Augrabies, meaning place of great noise. The name is fitting considering the powerful roar of the falls. The gorge below the falls averages about 240 meters deep and runs for 18 kilometers. Although it can get extremely hot between November and April, this is ultimately the best time for birding in Augrabies Falls National Park, and with around 200 bird species recorded in the park, you definitely won't be disappointed. Birding around the falls themselves can be surprisingly good, with the stars of the show being the numerous species of swift overhead. Broadleaf's flat lizards are a South African endemic and are commonly found on the boardwalks around the falls, where they can be seen doing death-defying leaps to catch flies on the wing right at your feet. It's at this point that Dad shouted he had a duck feeding right in the falls. I actually thought he was joking until he pointed out this African black duck doing just that meters from the vertical drop, and seemingly quite happy to be there right in the thick of it. African black duck can be found throughout Central and Southern Africa. Normally shy and territorial, it's usually seen in pairs or small flocks and breeds throughout the year in different areas. Omnivorous, it feeds on larvae, aquatic animals, plant materials, seeds and small fish in rivers and streams during the day, but likes to roost on large open bodies of water at night. Just come down to this little wetland here, literally beneath our cottage, and I haven't been able to leave. It's just all kicking off. A little bit of water there. There's so many birds here, and the funny thing is, that's where our cottage is. Due to arriving in the park late afternoon, our birding was a bit limited on our first day, but we still managed to do a bit around the falls and the chalet. But tomorrow we'd give it a better go. We'd be venturing further out in the park and birding around the rest camp itself. But now it was time for a nice cold beer and a braai after a long day's drive. Bibron's thick-toed gecko is a native to southern Africa and fairly common in South Africa, where it's one of the largest gecko species. They are nocturnal and both arboreal and ground-dwelling, and highly territorial. It's not uncommon to see individuals with missing appendages in the wild, as the males are highly aggressive towards each other. The female normally lays 2 clutches a year, each with 2 eggs, and their diet consists mainly of insects which they caught while hanging around the lights of our chalet. We've just woken up in Augrabies, our first night in the national parks of South Africa. Sun's about to pop its head over the horizon there. We decided to just spend the morning exploring what we can see in the camp, because there's a lot of trees and greenery and water. So we'll see what we can see in the camp this morning, and then come back for a bite to eat, pack all the cars, and then drive further afield in Augrabies National Park. There's various viewpoints that we're going to go to, with spectacular views down the gorges and things like that. While watching the sunrise over the falls, I managed to catch hundreds of swift come out of roost seemingly all at the same time and take to the air above the falls. The flock was predominantly made up of alpine, little and common swift, with a few Bradfields and African palm swift thrown in for good measure. Birding around the campsite early morning can be particularly productive, but just be mindful of people's privacy. Although most people are there for the same reason you are and know you're just bird watching, so don't really mind. And if you're lucky, you'll catch some mammals around the campsite too. Cape grey mongoose, vervet monkey, dussie, small spotted genet and striped mouse were all seen on our early morning walk. This area of the campsite where the hide is located always seems to be quieter, and so I've always found more birds in this area as a result. Pop into the hide and scan the little pond and reed bed in front of it, and then walk around the storeroom to the drier area to its west, which is also very good for birds. Cape glossy starling is an unbelievably beautiful bird whose range extends over much of southern Africa. It's not a bird of dense forest or pasture, but occurs in open woodland, plantations, savanna, bushveld, parks and gardens. The Cape starling is a gregarious bird and forms large flocks in the non-breeding season. It's a cavity nester and outcompetes other birds and nests between October and February. The African pied wagtail is found in much of sub-Saharan Africa and is located in seasonally wet or flooded lowland grassland, rivers and freshwater marshes. Both sexes participate in nest building and feeding the young, but only the females incubate the eggs, and it's the only black and white wagtail in Africa. It was interesting to watch this fiscal flycatcher swing this caterpillar around to evacuate the contents of its innards before swallowing it down. Back visiting the falls again quickly before driving out into the park. When the river is in flood, the width of the falls at flood time extends over several miles, with 19 separate waterfalls tumbling into the ravine below. We narrowly missed seeing a flood of 5,000 cubic meters per second of water going over the falls, but you can still see the damage it caused to some of the viewing platforms, like this one, which was still off limits to the public. Finally starting our drive in the park. I've done this drive several times over the years and it never gets old. Every time you drive it, you'll see something different or new. Take your time, the slower you go, the more you'll see. Besides all the wildlife, it's an entertaining drive because you'll cross several small rivers along the way and stop at some of the most beautiful viewpoints you'll ever see. Also keep an eye out for some of the park's larger mammals, like giraffe, zebra, klipspringer, and if you're incredibly lucky, maybe even leopard. Most of the greenery you'll see is around the rest camp side of the drive, after which it becomes much more arid. These vastly different habitats result in a great variety of bird species. These roadside pools and small rivers often dry up completely during the drier months. Augrabies gets most of its rainfall during the summer months between November and April, usually falling in short heavy bursts. The Namakwa dove is a tiny sparrow-sized bird and is a widespread resident breeding bird in sub-Saharan Africa, Madagascar and Arabia. It's prone to wander out of its original range and is now also being recorded in southern Asian countries. It's a terrestrial bird often found on the ground, feeding on seeds. Moon Rock is a huge exfoliation dome of granite, approximately 700 meters long and 100 meters high, eroding far slower than its surrounding bedrock. The Namakwa sandgrouse can be found in various arid parts of South Africa, Namibia and Botswana. They converge on watering holes in the early morning before separating into smaller flocks to feed further afield. Their diet consists of leaves, flowers, insects and mollusks. They nest in a scrape in the ground, and interestingly, the female incubates the eggs during the day and the male at night. The chicks grow rapidly and are fully feathered in 3 weeks and able to fly in 6. The male brings them water absorbed in specially adapted feathers on his breast. Southern rocky gamas are sociable reptiles, usually found in small groups or colonies, and have some ability to change color, but not to the extent that chameleons do. Males show dominance by performing push-ups, normally from a high point. The Ararat Viewpoint is about 4 kilometers downstream from the main rest camp and affords fantastic views down into the gorge and westwards towards the Aranyokom Viewpoint. This is also where you'll find the bigger raptors in the park, often giving fantastic views over your head, like these Verreaux's eagles nesting in the area for as long as I can remember. Verreaux's or black eagles occur mostly in Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, and is a highly specialized bird, with its distribution and life history revolving around its favorite prey, the rock hyrax. Named after the French naturalist Jules Verreaux, who visited southern Africa in the early 19th century, they are part of a broad group of raptors called booted eagles, which are defined by the feature of having feathers over their lower legs. A large bird of prey, with some females weighing in at around 7 kilograms. They are essentially unmistakable, especially in adulthood. No other black-colored raptor in its range approaches this species' large size or possesses its distinctive patterns of white. The Verreaux's eagle is considered obligate canis. That is where the older sibling normally kills the younger one in more than 90% of the observed nests, by either starvation or direct attack. These eagles are fiercely loyal to nest sites, adding nesting material year upon year, resulting in truly huge nests weighing several hundred kilograms. And now on to arguably the best viewpoint in the park, the Aranyokom Viewpoint, looking directly south down the gorge before it turns eastwards towards the rest camp. Over and above the amazing views, you'll have hundreds of swift zipping past you at eye level. This is a great spot to stop for lunch under its shade covers and enjoy the natural beauty of the park. Note the 3-banded plover in front of the river crossing. We unfortunately flushed it with our vehicle, but don't worry, it soon returned and gave stunning views right by the car. This plover is resident and sedentary over much of southern and eastern Africa and Madagascar, and is often solitary but will form into small flocks occasionally. final morning in Augrabies National Park. We're just busy showering and eating brekkie and packing up. Then we're going to go for a little walk around the campsite and the admin building at the top, at the entrance. Birding inside the campsite is excellent. And then we're going to go for a short drive into the park itself. Not very far because we've got limited time this morning. And then we're going to head out south towards Calvinia, where we will be stopping for tonight. Just like our first morning, we started the day's birding with a quick walk around the campsite to see if we could add any more birds to our trip list. Crested barbets are another sub-Saharan bird I'm particularly fond of. They breed in holes in trees between September and December, and up to 5 broods a season have been recorded. Often found bouncing along the ground looking for food, which comprises mainly of insects and fruits, but even small mammals and snakes can be taken. They like to roost in holes in trees and are aggressive towards other birds in their territory, especially other cavity nesters like other barbets. They also like to sit out in the open on a branch when they call, and their call is quite distinctive. Acacia-pied barbets also have a very distinctive call. We only had time for a much shorter drive out into the park this time, sticking to the much greener area surrounding the main rest camp. It was nice to see all 3 of South Africa's most common kingfishers feeding on the same small body of water right next to the road. Even though all the roads inside the park are dirt roads and you cross several small rivers on your drive, you can easily visit the park in a normal sedan vehicle as all the roads are well maintained. We saw 2 species of bee-eater in the park. First up was this white-fronted, found in sub-equatorial Africa and nesting in large colonies in holes in banks of earth. These birds exhibit cooperative breeding, where non-breeders will often help relatives to rear their young. Next are swallow-tailed. Partially migratory in response to rainfall, they prefer more wooded country than most bee-eaters, nesting in pairs or small colonies. And then unfortunately it was time to leave the park for the final time, but don't underestimate the road between the rest camp and the entrance to the park. You never know what you'll find there. Lesser grey shrike breed across southern and central Europe and western Asia during the summer, and then migrate to southern Africa to spend the summer there. They will eat anything they can overpower, but mainly feed on insects, often impaling food items on thorns to be consumed at a later date.